Hi there beautiful creatures, welcome back. I did a really short Instagram post today about the Barbieri Tarot. This is the back of the cards here. And I did film an unboxing video for this and another deck that I got, but for some reason the software stuffed up on my iPad and I'm unable to download the video or upload it. And so I can't really be bothered to refilm it, but I thought I would use the Barbieri Tarot today so you guys can get a bit of a feel for the images, and also I want to work with this deck with other people. So I posted on my Instagram today like asking who wants a free reading with it, and the first 10 comments, you know, get the free reading. So I've had about 4 comments with questions from Instagram users, and I thought before it gets a little out of hand for me, and while I'm feeling in the zone and in the mood, I would address those first 4 Instagram followers and their questions, and then maybe do a separate video for the others. So this is the Barbieri Tarot, as I mentioned, and I'll just go ahead and do those readings now. So already I've got this lovely piece of malachite, you know, to do with my readings. I do all my readings on my bed, by the way, guys, so that's why this video might be a little bouncy. So the first question, as I shuffle the deck here, is from Madame Levay Tarot, and she asked, how can I be more successful in my craft? So I'm just going to shuffle the deck here and take a moment to focus. Okay, so as I mentioned, these are 3 card readings. Camera's positioned a bit awkwardly. And I always split my deck into 3 before putting it back together. So Madame Levay Tarot, who asks, how can I be more successful in my craft? So we have the Lovers, we have the 2 of Wands, and we have the Page of Wands. I'll just move this so you can actually see those beautiful cards. Okay, so this is a really interesting depiction of the Lovers for me, and in the guidebook it speaks of this creature or this figure sort of coming up from the waves to greet them so that they're finally together. And I thought this is a really like a domineering posture for me. There's something that's like one person is in control of the other, or the other person is in thrall with these sort of angelic wings. So the Lovers to me is already talking about opposing kind of forces coming together. So maybe there is something that you need to reconcile within your craft to you know, make it more successful. That maybe you're not quite realizing exactly what all the opposing forces are that create this really beautiful harmonious balance between, you know, yin and yang and black and white and heaven and earth and all that sort of stuff. So if you have a more spiritually minded craft or anything that you're pursuing, really, this tells me that this incredibly important kind of life decision needs to be made. Something needs to come into balance here that you're not quite paying attention to. So then we have this really interesting depiction of the 2 of Wands, and traditionally, of course, the 2 of Wands is sort of about kind of, again, choosing a path and choosing you know, how to kind of I guess go down, which path you want to go down and pursue. And again, it's about choices. Any 2 card is about choices that we make. And here we have these figures kind of wrestling with this sea snake, and will they get out of this turmoil or not? And exactly what are the decisions that they made to put them into this precarious situation in the first place? So the 2 of Wands here, in the way that this is depicted, is really talking to me about a struggle. It's like, almost feels like maybe you've been questioning yourself a lot. Is this something that I actually want to pursue? Again, going back to the Lovers card here, you know, am I actually bringing all these elements into balance? Or am I kind of pulling myself in 2 different directions? Am I really having this struggle, this crisis? And like, what actions can I possibly take to you know, remedy that and kind of get over that sort of feeling of being pulled in 2 different directions. And then we have the Page of Wands, or the Knave of Wands, as Loscarabia calls them. And she is very much a person who, you can see the figures in the background here, although she's an incredibly independent figure, very strong looking. These figures in the background are described in the Little White Book as her friends and her colleagues and her support network, essentially, and those people that she knows she can rely on even as she's going out on this alone. So whether or not this is a single solitary venture for you, whether your craft is incredibly individual and solitary led, it's always important to realize whether these are spirit guides or whether they are just people around you that support you. That you do have that network around you and that you can rely on those people to help you guide your path and to help you be more successful. But just in terms of like having these two fire element cards here, I already feel like you're probably moving in a direction. It's just like this card here, you're not really sure which way to go and it's kind of biting you in the butt a little bit. So it seems like you definitely do have what it takes to be successful. You just need to really make some hard decisions that I have a feeling you've probably been tossing up in your head, from the get-go. And also, don't forget that there are people around you that support you and people around you that are kind of really willing to have your back in any sort of entrepreneurship or anything. And in order to kind of be successful in anything, it's really amazing to have that support network, whether this is introducing yourself to more people, actually building that network from scratch if you don't already have it. It's really important to find that foundation and grow from there. So, Madame Leve Tarot, that was your 3-card reading. And again, that was the question, how can I be more successful in my craft? So I hope that helped you out and resonated with you. So let me know in the comments down below or via Instagram if that did. So now I'm just going to move on to the second question, and this question is by the Instagram username Inspired Spirit, and she has just, I'm sorry, I don't know your gender, so I'll just say they have just finished high school, and they're asking, am I making the right career choice, or what career choice? Or, am I making the right career choice? So I know it's always hard coming out of high school. We've all been in that situation where we don't really know if the path that we're going down is something that we want to do or something that other people have established that they think we should do. So again, I'm just going to take a moment here to shuffle the cards. So I do this with my right hand because I'm naturally left-handed. So the right hand is my non-dominant hand. Alright, so this is Inspired Spirit, who has just left high school, and she's asking the question, am I making the right career choice? Let me just rearrange again. Alright, this is really interesting. So we've got 2 swords cards here. We've got the 7 of Swords and the 4 of Swords at the end there. And then right in the middle, smack bang, we've got another Major Arcana card, Strength. So this Strength card, I'm going to start here, is really interesting for me because it doesn't depict a beast, but what you can see, regardless of like the soft lips and the flowing hair, is this storm brewing in the background and this sort of steely determination in her eyes. To show that she's kind of really ready to confront and to embrace her inner strength, and she is willing to take on any tasks ahead. But then I'll start with I'll move on to the 7 of Swords as well, and this card to me really speaks about transformation and change and sort of embracing that change, and this is an incredibly non-traditional 7 of Swords card, right? This is totally different to anything that Rider-Waite-Smith would show. And from this card, just reading the energy and the imagery on this card, it's really about going through something, going through a change as you are leaving high school, going through any sort of really, really like intellectual hardship and mental hardship, and coming out of it a totally different person. And I think that's where the kind of Strength card comes into play. And the Strength card, like, she is a woman who honors her true self. And the energy of this card is very much finding your own authenticity and taking strength in that authenticity. So it shows me here that you've just undergone obviously a huge change. You're going through this kind of really different period in your life, and this is affecting you very intellectually and very mentally here, because as we know, the element of air is associated with swords, and I really just get this energy of shift, of transformation, and of something maybe new blossoming in your life. But at this point in time, you're just going through that change. So this is that kind of environment and that kind of I guess situation that you're experiencing at the moment. And you may or may not have found the strength within you to kind of go through these changes, and maybe that's why you're asking this question, because you're starting to doubt yourself, obviously, you know, am I making the right career choices? So then we, interestingly enough, have the Four of Swords here, and this shows this kind of angelic biomechanical figure poised for kind of resting before battle, readying herself before battle. And we all know that the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Four of Swords shows someone in repose or in meditation, and generally this is a card of rest. But here I feel like what the message is telling you to prepare yourself. It's telling you to, you know, weigh all the pros and cons, weigh all your options, and then make a decision. So this is not a time for action for you. It's really about going inwards and really reflecting, like finding your inner strength and exactly realizing what the changes that have come about in your life are really leading you to. Because it's only through your own inner knowing and your own inner authenticity, when you're being your most true self to yourself, that you'll actually find the answer to your question. So, I mean, as we all know, tarot can't really give us a yes or no. It can only kind of guide us in one path or another. So this is just potentially saying, look, you need your time to really get your head around the situation. You know, she is preparing for battle. And again, this is the intellect and the thoughts that are running in your head. You need to sort those out, and you need to just calmly assess the situation for what it is, logically assess the situation for what it is and exactly how it's affecting you before you charge on in with making a decision or worrying about a career choice. Because you know, when you worry, you can't really have this clear thinking, and you're always muddled and you're not really sure and you're starting to doubt yourself. Well, this card to me says very much, don't doubt yourself, but definitely find that peace within so that you can make the decision that is best for you. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I know that tarot can be quite vague. So when you do ask questions like, is this the right career path? And it gives you an answer like, well, actually sit down and really think about it yourself. That can be a little bit hard to listen to, because you just want a yes or no, but often the cards don't work in that system. So I hope this resonated with you, and I'm going to move on to the next person. So that was Inspired Spirit, who just was out of high school and asking whether or not she's pursuing the right career. So the next question that I have here is by Power Femme on Instagram. And her question is, how do I develop and better understand and listen to my intuition? Alright, so this is the reading for Power Femme, and she wants to know how will she better develop, listen to and trust her intuition. How can she develop her intuition? Alright, this is interesting. So no majors in this reading, but we have the Five of Cups. Sorry, I'll just move that so you can see it. We have the Five of Cups, we have the Eight of Cups, and we have the Nine of Pentacles. So there is like a tiny bit of sort of sexual nudity in this deck, but not much. So I'm going to start with the Five of Cups. So this is a woman who is incredibly determined and almost ignorant to what's going on around her. She's sort of, this Five of Cups is a really kind of independent, almost pig-headish type person. Not that I'm saying that that's what you are, but that is definitely an emotional standpoint that we can all take. And it's sort of one of ignorance, of turning your back on kind of what you're actually true. Alright, so my camera cut me off because I think I didn't have enough memory on my phone, but I didn't get any notifications. So this is still Power Femme's reading, and she's asking, how she can better listen to and understand and work with her intuition. So I was talking about the Five of Cups here and how she's a woman that sort of is a bit brutish and tends to ignore her true emotions and her true feelings. It's a bit at the detriment to her own kind of experience, and she is a bit like, oh, why don't I ever feel anything? Why don't I ever experience anything? And she's not actually paying attention to her emotions and her feelings. So that's the kind of Five of Cups energy in this particular deck. It's quite different to a traditional Five of Cups, but it still, you know, it still holds a sort of similar energy to the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith meaning without it being a traditional image. So then we have the Eight of Cups, and here we see her, you know, looking at the white rabbit, you know, like in Alice in Wonderland, and she seems to almost be stuck in this reverie and this memory and kind of going back and always considering and reflecting on the past. And, you know, if we're always stuck in this sort of feeling of reliving the past and reliving past memories, then it's really easy to put ourselves back into that similar loop, and we never actually move forward from that. So because this is a Cups card, again, this relates very much to the way that you're feeling. It's like you feel almost as though you're stuck in this loop of maybe not being able to connect with your intentions and your intuition, and you're just wondering why can't I do this? And, you know, it's not putting you in a feeling of frustration as much as it's disconnecting you even further from what you're actually feeling, because you're so dwelling on the whys and the hows and not really focusing in on the present moment and the present time. And that's where a lot of intuition comes from. So that's another kind of piece of advice that I get from this card, is that maybe just try and focus on being mindful of the present. So whether this is through meditation or whether it's through simply sitting with, I don't know if you use tarot or oracle, whether it's just sitting with a card or just even simply focusing on your breathing, just to bring you into the present moment, because that's when you receive all of these messages, you know. But if you keep lurking here and thinking, why is this not working? And, you know, why can't I listen to my intuition? And why am I always stuck in this loop? Then you're never really going to get anywhere with it. So I guess the first thing is, don't ignore your feelings. Acknowledge that whatever you feel, whatever symbols you think you're seeing and hearing or paying attention to, they're not, you know, don't discount them and don't run them off as not meaning anything, because they do mean something. And in a lot of ways, that's probably what your intuition is trying to tell you. But you keep kind of writing it off as not being important, when every little sign is important when it comes to connecting with your intuition. And then lastly, we have the Nine of Pentacles, or the Nine of Coins, who is rather a saucy figure. And she's quite a bit standoffish, again, but this is funny because obviously Pentacles relate to Earth and the physical realm. And she has this air of desirability and this air of kind of, sorry, have to shift position. This air of desirability and kind of really being in touch with the physical and her body and the natural kind of stuff that is going on around her. I mean, let's say that's the energy I'm getting off this card, even though this card does not have anything that looks natural around it. You know, we've got these veils and stuff like that. But she's very inviting, and she's very, like, focused on pleasure. So I think another way that you can get in touch with your intuition and work with it better is by considering also the physical sensations that you experience when you try and tap into your intuition and when you try and work and listen to your intuition. So to me, this card is a lot about maybe you're experiencing physical signs and symbols, you're seeing things in everyday life that you're not really paying attention to. Maybe you're too self-absorbed in the past, and not being able to focus because you're just kind of worried about, I don't know how to work with my intuition. Well, you do. The signs and symbols are out there. You just have to pay attention to them and almost revel in them, you know, find pleasure in just looking and experiencing the kind of physical everyday sensations. And I think this is, again, coming into play with the Eight of Cups here, because it's about being in the present moment and it's about connecting with yourself, not only with your feelings, obviously, but also with your physical self. You know, how are you physically? Are you really noticing everything that's going on around you. How is your physical body? Are you sick at the moment, or are you, feeling drained and weighed down? And these can all be blocks that inhibit you paying attention and working with your intuition more. So I'm going to leave it there, because otherwise I'm going to spend 300 years talking about these cards, and I'm just going to be an old skeleton here mumbling to myself. So I'm going to move on to the last question on Instagram. So again, I hope that resonated with you, PowerFem, and I hope that answered your question to a degree. I'm really loving these cards so far. I find that they have a language that I really understand very clearly. So thanks so much for everyone who posted their questions on Instagram. So the last person is the beautiful Katie Flowers, who has her own YouTube channel here. So hi, Katie. And her question is, how can I get out of my current slump? So there is no kind of, there's no background to what the slump is about. So I'm just going to take a moment here again and just focus on Katie Flowers' question. Alright, so just again, this is the reading for Katie Flowers. And her question is, how can she get out of her current slump? Alright, this is interesting. Oh, here we have the Two of Wands again. Alright, so we've got a court card. Oh, we've got no majors again, so that's kind of cool. So we have here the Ten of Cups, which is a beautiful depiction of this castle floating above the rock, the mountain, and this kind of really serene valley down below. We have the Page of Coins. And we have the Two of Wands. Alright, so first of all, the kind of idea of the Ten of Cups is this sort of joyful experience of everything coming together emotionally within your relationships, within your within your everyday life kind of thing. So the big thing that I'm getting here, the message that I'm getting is, look at the bigger picture. Really look at what you have and enjoy what you have. You know, there's so much in this world that we can feel torn down by, and if we let it get to us, it kind of is very easy to be affected by everything. If we let the little things get to us, we can get really down, and we can get in a slump. And the Ten of Cups is a joyful card, and the Ten of Cups in this instance shows that there are, you know, you're almost here, you're almost reached this destination, and look at this amazing destination. And it's kind of this encouragement. It's like we're still on a path, we still haven't reached that castle on the mountain, but it's there and we can see it, and god damn it, isn't it beautiful, kind of thing. That's the big message that I'm getting from this card, is kind of like, you know, there are so many wonderful things to be thankful for and to really appreciate in this life, and it's very, very easy to not see the bigger picture and get caught up in our struggles without actually seeing the world for kind of what it is, and seeing this sort of the joyful things in our lives. So I'm going to move on to the Page of Coins here, who's a really interesting character. She's a female warrior, obviously. She's decked out in the best armor, in the best gear, and she's kind of ready. She's ready and prepared to learn. She's ready for battle. So this kind of tells me here, it's like, what are you collecting around you materially at the moment that makes you feel more secure and more safe and more ready to face, you know, the kind of struggles that you're going through? Like, what is that material, physical stuff that you really take pleasure in, that you have got? You know, she's got this amazing shiny armor, and she's well equipped to learn more and to train more. She may not be the best on the field yet, but she's certainly getting there. So I just, the kind of energy I'm getting from this card is like, what do you have materially around you that already makes you so satisfied? And, you know, you have, and also a reminder that you do have all this material stuff around you, and not just in the way of possessions, but also in the way of people that are there to support you, in the way of maybe seeing the potential to learn new things and different skills, and trying to assess maybe. Alright, so sorry about that. My video decided to stop recording again because I ran out of memory again on my phone. So we just finished here with the page, or the knave of coins as they call them in Los Scarabeo decks, talking about kind of realizing the sort of material and the physical, not only things that you own but also the people around you, and maybe physically trying to sharpen your skills and hone your skills, and seeing exactly what you need to do that, which might help you out a little bit as well. And then, interestingly enough, we have the same card for the as we had before, which is the Two of Wands, which, as I showed you before, is this sort of very heroic, mythical-looking guys trapped by the sea serpent. It reminds me a bit of this romantic painting by Jericho called The Raft of the Medusa. And they're all sort of got these really buff kind of bodies as well, but it's displaying like a real-life problem. So I get this kind of sense that whatever you're going through in your daily life, it's a sort of struggle between one issue and the other issue. And coming to terms with the fact that you can't split yourself down the middle is that you have to actually reconcile whatever is going on. And the fact that you maybe need to take some time and actually look at all of these wonderful things that are going on in your life and step back and just examine the bigger picture, you know, and realize that you have all this amazing support, you have all this armor around you, you have not only material wealth and possessions, and you're in good stead, or so this card tells me. I don't know if that's true or not. And you know, you're kind of ready in a way to sort of face whatever comes next, but you're just in this kind of conflict where you can't quite decide what it is you kind of want to go, where you want to go, where the next step is leading you. And maybe you don't actually need to know. Maybe all this turmoil that you're experiencing, which is very kind of real and well, you know, once again, my phone has given up on me, so I'm going to have to cut this really short, and I apologize. Katie, if there's anything you want me to clarify, message me on YouTube or Instagram, message me, and I'll get back to you on that. So this is kind of telling you that you're torn between two different paths. You're kind of split between two directions that you might take, and I think this is what's causing the most kind of grief for you at the moment, whether this is a spiritual sense or whether it's kind of whatever situation you're going through at the moment. It's sort of not something that I feel like you should be focusing on, even as hard as it is. Very easy to get bogged down in this sense of self-victimization without realizing we're actually doing it. So that's the kind of sense that I get with this card in particular. And like I said, with these two cards, I feel like maybe the way that you can move forward and get out of the slump you're in is to just try and take a look at the bigger picture. Realize exactly what you have in your everyday life, in your material life, that kind of makes you know, makes you happy and fulfills you, and what else can you do to enhance that feeling and that experience. So I'm gonna cut it there because I don't know when the video is gonna stop randomly, which is always fun. I hope that you found these readings insightful. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. And I'd like to do something like this again. Like I said, I'm really loving this deck. I love the imagery on this deck, and for me it just reads incredibly clearly. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!